1 year ago, my life changed forever when HOA installed illegal spike strips on my private road and called the police when I removed them. That confrontation was just the beginning. My name is Jackson Hale, and what started with spike strips ended with gunfire explosions and a corporate conspiracy I'm still fighting today. The burned-out ravine where I sent their truck still scars my property. A reminder. I exposed their first attempt. Spikes to control my road, surveillance to monitor my movements, mercenaries to take my land by force. I thought burning their equipment and standing my ground had sent a message they couldn't ignore. I was wrong. 3 weeks ago, Harvey Tucker's house burned down. Official report, faulty wiring. 2 days later, the old convenience store that refused to sell to developers, condemned for structural concerns. Last week, 4 more properties hit with violations nobody's seen before. It's spreading like cancer through our community. New surveillance cameras on telephone poles, unmarked vehicles parked just beyond property lines. The sheriff, who should protect us, now looks the other way. Kara warned me they'd come back smarter. They'll use paper instead of guns, she said before disappearing 3 months ago. No trace. No goodbye. Just gone. Yesterday I found something buried near my gate. Not spikes this time. Something worse. A notice of eminent domain with my name on it. I didn't sleep that night. The eminent domain notice felt heavy in my hands, legal jargon masking a simple truth. They'd found a new angle. The letterhead wasn't HOA or CCI anymore. It was Meridian Regional Development Authority. Never heard of them before. Didn't matter. Same wolves, different clothes. Dawn found me in Harvey's charred living room, flashlight sweeping across blackened walls. The smell of burned wood still hung in the air. Faulty wiring my ass, I muttered, crouching to examine the electrical panel. The fire had started there, but something was wrong. The melting pattern looked deliberate, controlled. Harvey appeared in the doorway, his weathered face grim. Find anything? Someone wanted this to look like an accident. He nodded slowly. There's more. 8 properties targeted this month. All refused CCI's buyout offers last year. I wasn't just paranoid. This was coordinated. By noon, 15 of us gathered in my living room. Farmers, shopkeepers, retirees, ordinary people pushed too far. Maps spread across the table showed our properties outlined in red. The pattern was obvious now. They were isolating us, picking us off one by one. They can't just take our land, said Ellen Parker, clutching her property deed. We have rights. Rights mean nothing without enforcement, I countered. And they've bought the enforcement. The sheriff's department had changed since last year. New cars, new equipment. Deputies who used to be friendly now avoided eye contact. Money flowing from somewhere. We need leverage, I said, unfolding the development plans we'd obtained through a sympathetic clerk at City Hall. Something they want badly enough to back off. That's when I saw it. The aquifer. Running beneath my property, yes, but the main access point was elsewhere. A survey marker on unclaimed land between our properties. They need this spot, I said, pointing to the map. We buy it first. 3 days later, we pooled resources and made the purchase through shell companies. The moment the deed cleared, we felt their attention shift. Surveillance intensified. Unmarked cars circled day and night. Then Ellie Crawford reappeared. She came alone this time, her SUV kicking up dust as it crawled up my road. No mercenaries, no threats. Just a smile that didn't reach her eyes and a folder tucked under her arm. Mr. Hale, she said pleasantly. I think we got off on the wrong foot. I didn't invite her in. We stood in the yard, tension crackling between us. Meridian is prepared to make a very generous offer, she continued, handing me the folder. For all the affected properties, no more harassment, no more accidents. Inside was a number with 2 many zeros. Life-changing money. And if we refuse? Her smile tightened. Development is inevitable, Mr. Hale. Progress comes for us all. The smart ones profit from it. After she left, I called an emergency meeting. Some wanted to take the money, others refused on principle. The arguments lasted hours. That night, as everyone left, a text message appeared on my phone from an unknown number. Check your shed. See, my pulse quickened. Kara. In the shed, hidden beneath the floorboards, I found a thumb drive and a note. What they're really after. Be careful. They're watching. The files revealed the truth. It wasn't just about water. Geological surveys showed rare earth minerals throughout the region, the kind needed for advanced electronics, worth billions. As I processed this, headlights appeared on my security camera, not on the road, coming through the forest, multiple vehicles. I grabbed my shotgun and stepped onto the porch just as the first black SUV broke through the tree line. A voice boomed through a megaphone. Jackson. Hale, this property is now under federal investigation. Come out with your hands up. They weren't even pretending anymore. Through my scope, I recognized the man beside the SUV. Not local law enforcement, government, three-letter agency maybe. That's when my phone rang. Blocked number. Mr. Hale. A voice I didn't recognize said, "This situation can end two ways. Surrendering your property to a legitimate government action is the easy way." "And the hard way?" I asked, though I already knew. "We have 27 of your neighbors in custody for conspiracy and obstruction of a federal project. You'll join them, your property will be seized, and the evidence we've manufactured will ensure you never see daylight again." The line went dead as the vehicles advanced. I stood frozen, caught between impulses, fight like last time or surrender to save the others. The shotgun felt heavy in my hands. Through the scope, I counted 12 men tactically positioned. Too many. The thumb drive burned in my pocket. Evidence that could expose everything if I lived to share it. My phone buzzed again. A text. "Look at the ridge. 2 minutes. Be ready." See. I glanced toward the eastern ridge, seeing nothing but darkness. But I trusted Kara. Whatever was coming, I needed to buy time. "I'm coming out," I called, setting the shotgun down visibly on the porch. "Let's talk." The man with the megaphone gestured, and his team relaxed slightly. I stepped forward, hands raised, scanning the ridge from the corner of my eye. Nothing yet. "Jackson Hale," the man said, "you're under arrest for conspiracy against federal projects, destruction of government property, and domestic terrorism." Terrorism. The word hit like a physical blow. They weren't just taking my land, they were erasing me. "Where are my neighbors?" I demanded, stalling. "I want to see them." "In processing," he replied coldly. "Their cooperation will determine their sentencing." 1 minute had passed. My eyes darted to the ridge again. "You're not federal agents," I called out, loud enough for anyone listening. "This is a corporate land grab disguised as government action. I have proof." I pulled out the thumb drive. The man's expression shifted. Fear. Recognition. "Take him down," he ordered. As weapons raised, the night exploded with light. The ridge lit up with blinding floodlights and dozens of cameras flashed. Drones hummed overhead, capturing everything. Not just Kara, journalists, live streamers. The whole scene broadcast in real time. FBI, freeze. New voices thundered from behind the journalists. Actual federal agents, weapons drawn. The imposters panicked. Some ran, others froze. Their leader lunged toward me, desperate for the thumb drive. I sidestepped, but not fast enough. Pain exploded in my side as his knife found its mark. As I fell, the thumb drive slipped from my fingers, landing in the dirt between us. Our eyes met. In that moment, I recognized him from the CCI files, the CEO himself. As darkness crept into my vision, his hand closed around the drive. Blood soaked my shirt as I lunged forward, desperation overriding pain. My fingers closed around the CEO's wrist just as he grabbed the drive. Around us, chaos erupted, shouting, running, the blinding flash of lights. "Richard Keller," I growled, recognizing his face from the files. "Finally got your hands dirty." His eyes widened in surprise that I knew his name. That moment of hesitation cost him. I twisted his arm sharply, forcing him to drop the drive. Pain flared in my side, hot and urgent. "You have no idea what you're interfering with," Keller hissed. "This is bigger than you, bigger than all of us." We grappled in the dirt, his knife slashing wildly. I caught glimpses of the scene around us, his fake agents being rounded up by real FBI, cameras documenting everything, Kara directing journalists toward specific targets. My strength was fading. The wound was worse than I'd thought. Keller sensed it, his confidence returning as my grip weakened. "You think this changes anything?" He sneered. "We own judges, senators. This evidence will never see a courtroom." His knee drove into my wound. Stars exploded across my vision as he scrambled for the drive. A shotgun blast thundered across the yard. "Not mine. Harvey's." "That's far enough," the old man called, his weathered hands steady on the weapon. Keller froze, then slowly raised his hands. The thumb drive lay in the dirt between us, spattered with my blood. "Get it," Harvey urged me, keeping his aim fixed on Keller. I stretched out, fingers trembling, when another figure emerged from the shadows. Ellie Crawford. She moved with surprising speed, snatching up the drive before I could reach it. Her eyes met mine, conflicted. "Don't," I gasped. "You don't understand what's on there." "I understand perfectly," she replied, her voice tight. "I've always understood." For a moment, everything hung in balance. Ellie stood between Harvey's shotgun and Keller, the drive clutched in her manicured hand. Then, to everyone's shock, she turned to the nearest journalist. "My name is Elizabeth Crawford," she announced clearly. "I've been working undercover for the Attorney General's office for 14 months, investigating corporate corruption and illegal land seizures by CCI Technologies." She held up the drive. "This contains evidence of their crimes, including contamination of water supplies, falsified environmental reports, and bribes to officials. I'm surrendering it to federal custody." Keller's face contorted with rage. "You bitch! You've been with us from the beginning." "Yes," Ellie said coldly. "That was the plan." FBI agents converged, securing the drive and Keller. As they led him away, he locked eyes with me one last time. "You think you've won? This goes deeper than you know. They'll just send someone else." Paramedics rushed to my side, cutting away my shirt to access the wound. Through waves of pain, I watched Kara approach, her expression a mix of relief and wariness. "You're late," I managed to say as they lifted me onto a stretcher. "Had to make sure we got everyone," she replied. "The whole network, not just Keller." I gestured weakly for her to come closer. "Ellie, you knew?" Kara nodded. "Not at first. She approached me 3 months ago. Turned out she'd been gathering evidence since before our first encounter. She was playing both sides." The revelation hit harder than the knife. All this time, Ellie Crawford, the face of everything I'd fought against, had been working to bring them down from the inside. The other properties. I gasped as pain. Medication began to cloud my thoughts. Harvey's house. "We'll get justice," Kara promised, her voice fading as consciousness slipped away. I woke in a hospital room, sunlight streaming through Venetian blinds. Harvey sat dozing in a chair beside the bed. The TV in the corner played silent news footage, aerial shots of my property, Keller being led away in handcuffs, politicians making statements. "You're missing your big moment," came a voice from the doorway. Ellie stood there looking different. Gone was the immaculate HOA president. Her hair was pulled back simply, no designer clothes or perfect makeup. Why? I asked, the only question that mattered. She approached slowly. My brother owned property near Lake Meridian. He fought CCI when they tried to take it. 3 years ago, his house burned down with him inside. Electrical fault, they said. Understanding dawned. So you infiltrated them. Worked my way up. Played the perfect corporate puppet. Her smile was bitter. They never suspected the HOA president was documenting everything. Those safety spikes on my road had to make it convincing. I needed you to fight back, draw attention, make yourself too visible for them to eliminate quietly. She paused. I'm sorry about the house break-in. That wasn't planned. Before I could respond, the door opened again. A federal agent entered, nodding respectfully. Mr. Hale, we need your statement when you're ready. What you and Ms. Crawford have provided has already led to 63 arrests across 5 states. This conspiracy goes further than we imagined. The other property owners, I asked. My neighbors? All. Released. The charges were fabricated. Your community's legal expenses will be fully covered by the seizure of CCI assets. When he left, Harvey stirred in his chair, blinking awake. Well, he said gruffly, guess I need to rebuild my house. We all do, I replied, thinking of the community that had formed through resistance. The bonds forged in fire. Ellie touched my arm lightly. They'll come for the minerals eventually. Someone else, some other company. This isn't over. I met her eyes, seeing in them the same determination I felt. No, I agreed. But next time, we'll be ready. 6 weeks later, I stood on my porch watching the sunrise. My side still ached where Keller's knife had found its mark, a permanent reminder etched into flesh. But I was standing. We all were. The community had changed. Harvey's new house rose from the ashes built by neighbors' hands. The convenience store reopened. Where fences once divided properties, gates now connected them. Kara stayed, surprisingly. She'd found something worth fighting for, she said. I didn't ask for details. Ellie visited occasionally, bringing updates on the investigation. 63. Arrests became 94. Politicians resigned. Judges recused themselves. The system slowly, painfully correcting itself. The aquifer remained untouched. For now. They'll come again, Harvey said, joining me on the porch. Different name, different approach, same goal. I nodded, watching a truck deliver lumber for the new community center being built on the land we'd purchased together. Our first line of defense. Let them come, I replied. My security cameras remained. My shotgun stayed loaded. But I'd added something new, a flag at the entrance to my road. Not an American flag or state colors. Just a simple design, a black spike on a crimson background. A warning. This wasn't just my land anymore. It was a line in the sand. A declaration that some things aren't for sale. My name is Jackson Hale. A year ago, HOA installed illegal spike strips on my private road and called the police when I removed them. They learned nothing comes easy on my land.